Hi, my name's Ceri. I'm one of the senior registered nurses at St John's Hospice. I'm currently working in the hospice at home team. Previously to that, I was working on the inpatient unit also at the hospice. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about nutrition and fluid at the end of life. Feeding someone who's sick is generally viewed as an act of compassion and something that you do out of love for the person that you're caring for. So when the time comes that we start seeing our loved one not eating and drinking, it can be really difficult to accept that and to sort of know what to do in that circumstance. A reduction in someone's appetite is a common sign that someone might be entering the end of life phase, and it is unfortunately a normal part of the dying process. The person that we're caring for might, if they're able to, verbally express that they no longer want to eat and drink, and that can be a really hard thing for us to hear. It can be really difficult for us to accept that decision. It may be that they just no longer wish to eat, they have no desire to eat or drink. It may also be that the effort of actually eating and drinking is just too much for them. Or it may be that they're experiencing some swallowing difficulties. And often as the dying process continues and someone becomes much weaker, there can often be difficulties with swallowing. And it can also become unsafe for someone to try and swallow food or drink. This is known as dysphagia. So some signs to look out for of a poor swallow might be that once they take a drink, they're coughing or sputtering a little bit on swallowing. They might have pain when they're trying to swallow. They might be constantly complaining that food's getting stuck, it's not quite going down right. So it may also be that someone's asking for thinner foods such as just fluids or yogurts or ice creams that are generally easier to swallow rather than solid food as they're struggling to swallow this. So what can we do as carers to try and help our patients at end of life with nutrition and fluids? If the person is conscious and they're asking for food and drink and it's safe for them to do so, then of course it's absolutely fine to offer food and drinks of their choice, but try not to push or force this onto them. It may be that we need to consider adapting the consistency of the foods. So maybe if they're no longer able to manage the solid foods, we go to pureed or mashable or liquid food. Looking at portion sizes as well can also be something that's really important. If someone at end of life who's maybe not wanting to eat a lot is given a large portion, it might overface them and put them off completely. So looking at smaller portion sizes or sort of bite-sized meals, even like a little grazing bowl, is something that's really useful to try. It's important to remember that when someone's at the end of life, they don't need the same calories as maybe you or I do. So eating food for nutritional value isn't of as much importance. So if it's something that they really enjoy eating or something that they just like the taste of, then that's fine to go with that. Allowing a loved one to eat foods that they enjoy simply for pleasure is really important if they're able to do so, and it might benefit them mentally and psychologically by doing this. Taste can often be altered for different reasons at the end of life. So it may be that someone who maybe didn't have a sweet tooth before now does have a sweet tooth, and that's fine to just go with whatever it is they're fancying at that time. Offer to help with eating by assisting someone in feeding, and just remember that eating and drinking at end of life can be really tiring and exhausting. So allowing them the time to chew properly and take the time to swallow is really important to remember if you're helping someone with feeding. It can be really useful to try using things like straws or beakers or even teaspoons to help with fluid intake. This can also help to relieve that drying mouth that they may be experiencing. As well as this, the use of ice lollies or ice chips can be really good for anyone with sort of mouth problems or a drying mouth. So some other ways that you could help relieve that dry mouth for someone would be to provide regular mouth care. So this can be done either with a soft toothbrush or some little sponges or a damp cloth. It can also be really useful to use lip balms or Vaselines. And sometimes GPs may prescribe like a false saliva spray or a gel that can be utilised as well. It's important throughout all this to remember that a reduction in appetite or someone choosing not to eat and drink is a part of the normal dying process. By choosing to not eat and drink, they may actually lessen the symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, and even pain. It's important to acknowledge that there isn't sort of one approach that fits everyone with feeding and drinking at end of life, but a lack of nutrition will not hasten someone's death at end of life. It is an area that, of course, can bring up lots of complex issues, particularly for family members or friends or those who are caring for them if they struggle to come to terms with the fact that someone's not eating and drinking. But when someone's at the end of life, it's important to make sure that they're comfortable, they're pain-free, and their dignity is maintained, and that we uphold their wishes wherever possible.